Greetings, grandfather. Now, there are moments coming up, and by moments I mean literally that, where you will not be able to think before you act. And that's why all the training here and on the written blogs about instinct. Instinct is something you are born with because it is so vital to your survival as well as to your happiness. Your instinct is just as good as the deer in the forest or any other creature. You are all, you and deer and other beings, you are all made up of Mother Earth's body. And Mother Earth, in case you haven't noticed, and I'm sure you have, is a material master, meaning she's able to utilize the material of her mass as well as the space around her to achieve what is necessary for her to achieve consciously. Alright? But there's more. Mother Earth is also a spiritual master because she must be able to know not only what is good for her as a planet, but what is good for the beings who reside on and within her. To say nothing of passing through her atmosphere and so on. There's more. Mother Earth is a quantum master. Quantum mastery is that which is an understanding, appreciation, and application of all that has happened, all that is happening, and all that is likely to happen in all of its potential futures. This allows for a great deal of adaptability. If you know this, it will be helpful because you are made up physically of the body of that being, Mother Earth, and you are here to learn many of those things. Most of you, but there will be a few, will not become material masters. All of you have been spiritual masters before you came here, because no one is allowed to have a life here of any type, even brief, without having had at least one life of spiritual mastery. Or it may not necessarily be a form of spiritual mastery that you can use here, but it will give you the depth and the capacity, the breadth, you might say, to be able to survive situations and even to thrive in situations where you wouldn't expect, if you looked at it from the outside in, meaning looking at another person, you wouldn't have expected them to be able to get through something like that. That's what spiritual mastery can do, even if it does not directly apply to what's being survived or how the thriving is going on. Now, there's that. You will not become quantum masters when you are here, but you do need to learn something about it. That is why you're having the opportunity to literally, as you're living, move from one dimension to another. You think of dimensions, not unreasonably, as the third dimension or the fourth dimension and so on. But really, it doesn't matter how you label them. The labeling is for your convenience, and not necessarily based upon a totally practical understanding of what it means. But the main thing is this, to put it in the simplest and most easily understood form, When you dream, your body rests as is necessary, but your spirit travels, because your spirit and your soul, you understand, do not need to rest. They are always interested in and seeking knowledge and wisdom and the means to understand how to apply it when and where. So at the very deepest levels of your dreaming, you are with your guides and angels and teachers. They are explaining what's going on in your life and probably in the lives of others around and near you, or if necessary, the lives of others all over the planet, so that you can understand what's being done, what you are participating in doing, unconsciously to the greatest extent, but what you can do on the basis of those moments when inspiration and instinct are what you have available and thought will not get you through it. So you see, quantum mastery does factor in, because you will need to be able to react very often in situations that you have no idea where they came from, meaning they might have started out with something in the past, or it doesn't have anything to do with you as far as you can tell, meaning something that is unknown in the present, or something that is happening in one or more potential futures, maybe a future of your own, maybe a future of someone near and dear to you, or maybe the many pathways of how the present can develop. So many futures. This is an application and an understanding of material mastery, spiritual mastery, and quantum mastery. Now stay with me. I know this is complicated. So, the reason you must be able to react on the basis of instinct and not just on the basis of bias. Bias is something you learn. All right? It may have to do with your culture. It may have to do with the beliefs you've come to accept because they make sense or because they feel good or what have you. But bias can create a filter for your instinct that does not always work. I'll tell you how to know the difference. If something happens and you suddenly get a feeling to do something, all right, and then there's a pause, and then you do something, that pause is a reaction either to thought or to personal or group, meaning cultural bias. That's the simplest way to know that that's what's going on. So, homework. All right? I've given you some homework like this before, but it's all right. You can try it again. You're going to need a clear and open space for this. So if you have one, that would be helpful. It can be outside, it can be inside, it doesn't matter. But this is what to do. All right? It may not seem to relate to what I've been talking about today, but it does. I'd like you to stand in this clear and open space, okay? And there can be, if you're in a house or an apartment or something like that, there can be a few things around, but I don't want them to be things that if you tripped over them or bumped into them, you could get hurt. So it has to be something soft, all right? Maybe a cushion or a bed that doesn't have any sharp corners, like that, okay? Ideally with as much space as possible around you. So at least 10, 12 feet in either direction, but do the best you can. If you're outside, also watch out for hazards. So you want to make sure that there aren't any children running around if you can help it, or ask them to play indoors or wherever they can be. And try to make sure the dog and the cat are out of the way. You understand? So, pick a spot that feels good for you, okay? And just stand there. While you're standing there, I want you to start to move in some direction. Don't move on the basis of thought. Try to move only on the basis of what direction feels good to you. If you're not sure about that, this is exactly what to do. Oh, by the way, I want your eyes to be closed. So, just stand, as I say, in whatever spot feels good to you. Then, then if you're not sure which direction to move in, slowly turn, all right? Slowly turn as if you were the, say, the dial on a watch. Slowly turn to the left, very slowly rotating and stopping whenever you want to, until you get the best feeling that that's the direction to move in. Then I want you to move very slowly. You can shuffle if you want to. You don't have to take steps. Move very slowly and continue moving in that direction until you feel uncomfortable. If you feel uncomfortable for any reason, stop and do your rotating again, where you're turning until you feel the best feeling and move slowly in that direction. Do that for as long as you want. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 15 minutes. Don't do it for an hour, okay? But do it for as long as you have. Try not to open your eyes to look at a clock or a watch. But if you must, perhaps you have an engagement, then move your wrist up with your watch on it, or if it's a pocket watch, move your hand up so that the watch or the pocket watch is literally right in front of your eyes. And try to do something like this, so that you're only seeing that. Then put it back in your pocket, relax into that feeling that you were doing before, if you don't have to go anywhere at that moment, and continue on with the exercise. This is an exercise in learning how to respond to your instinct directly, rather than going through the check, the filter of instinct, where you would get a feeling to do something, then pause, then respond to a bias or a thought. It's all right to respond on the basis of thought at times, all right? But coming up now, and especially this year, that's why we talked about how important choice was a while back on a video. This year, you're going to have to use your instinct much more than you could ever have imagined. It's not going to be because you're going to be running from an erupting volcano, though there might be a few of you who have to do that. It's not going to be because of some extreme disaster, but there might be something that would be good to avoid. And there might also be, for those of you who get good at responding to your instinct, and by the way, there is a great deal written and taught about instinct on the written blogs. It might be that there is something that could happen, meaning a high percentage, and if you just turn, say you're driving, to the right and take an alternate route, or turn to the left and take an alternate route, or wait and have another cup of coffee before you leave, like that, you won't have any chance of that disaster. These will all be based upon inspirations and or instincts. So you see why it's important. Now, that's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about today with the homework. I will talk more about these things in the future, but this is the most important thing for you to understand. Really vitally important. On that note of vital importance, I will say this one last thing. I can assure you that you will, in fact, have at least one circumstance in this year, 2011 to be specific, where you would either be in a position to avoid something that you would just as soon avoid, even if it's a person you'd rather not see for any reason, by paying attention to your instinct, or where you might equally, by paying attention to your instinct, have an opportunity that you might want to have the option of responding to in different ways. Now, I'm saying that in a way that's a bit vague on purpose, because I don't want you to feel like the volcano is going to come and get you. All right, it's not about that. It's about mostly paying attention to opportunities. So practice on the homework. Those of you who can read the written blogs about instinct, read it from the beginning of whatever blog you're on, Benevolent Magic, A Mystical Man's World, or what have you, and study on that. You won't be able to do all the homework, but you will be able to sharpen your instinct sufficiently so that you will have the greatest opportunity to have the greatest advantage. As you know, I'm not only interested in your survival on Earth, but your ability to thrive through good times or bad. Good life.